Hello and welcome to the first in what I hope will be a little series of videos that we are calling Ovid, not COVID, in which we get to focus on something interesting and I hope entertaining and perhaps even educational, heaven help us, Ovid, rather than something difficult and depressing which we can't do very much about, COVID. And so what I'm going to do is make a set of videos looking at each one of the poems in Ovid's collection, the Heroides, which are poems written by the abandoned wives of Greek myth to their absent menfolk. So the first, which we'll look at next, of course, is from Penelope to her husband Ulysses. Ulysses is the Roman name for Odysseus. And Penelope famously waits 20 years for him to come home. Before I say very much more, that'll be episode 2. Before I say very much more, I should tell you that Ovid is for certain what would now often be described as problematic as a poet. There are all kinds of things about Ovid which you may find difficult. His poem, The Metamorphoses, for example, a big epic poem across 15 books, I think, is full of scenes of extreme sexual violence, which a lot of people find very upsetting, and that is fair enough. I'm not going to try and sell you Ovid if you don't feel comfortable reading him. That's fair enough. I respect your position. I'm sad for you because he's a beautiful poet, but I understand that that's not going to be enough for everyone. If you want to hear more about Ovid in general, please feel free to download from BBC Sounds the Ovid episode of my Radio 4 show, Natalie Haynes Stands Up for the Classics. I think Ovid was series 3, but I would be lying if I said I could remember. It could be series 2. I love the Heroides because they are an extraordinary collection of poems. They are this so difficult man who is obsessed with sex, and particularly with him getting sex from people who are frankly consenting or not consenting alike, at least according to the character that he portrays in his love poetry. This set of poems shows that this extraordinary poet can imagine what it's like to be a woman, and not just a woman, but a woman abandoned, a woman in love, and left behind in the case of, let's say, Ariadne, or waiting for her husband to come home for 20 years in the case of Penelope, or realising that her husband has betrayed her in the case of Medea. Some of these women take terrible actions, some of them are quite passive, some of them are filled with love, some of them are filled with hate and revenge, sometimes all of the above. But it's just the most incredible act of literary transvestism. This is a poet who can imagine a whole experience that we would expect men of his time to not be able to consider. I mean, generally, if you're looking for poets who write women really well in the ancient world, it's Euripides, Ovid, and Book 4 of Virgil's Aeneid. I mean, there are a few others, but generally male poets didn't imagine women particularly successfully. Ovid is a remarkable exception to that rule. So I'll be back in a couple of days with Penelope and Ulysses, but in the meantime, keep safe and I'll talk to you soon.